thought I could make it a whole day without talking about perimenopause, but I have some new thoughts I need to share. My name is Dr. Megan, and I guide people in growing, learning, and cultivating curiosity and connection. And even though I've recently done 2 videos on symptoms of perimenopause, I realized there were a couple of additional things that I wanted to touch on relating to symptoms and just the experience. So a couple of more symptoms that I didn't cover yet. One of them that's really interesting is you'll have, I don't really notice it yet, but people talk about hair loss. But then at the same time, you're also getting like these lovely chin hairs that just seem to sprout out of nowhere. So that's fun. And now the brain fog is setting in, and the other symptoms I had thought about sharing, I can't think of them right now. So we'll just move in to the other part. It's kind of a symptom and kind of not, but one of the things that has come up for me in trying to explain to people what perimenopause is like is if you think back to your teenage years, whether you're, man, woman, assigned male, female at birth, think about what your teenage years were like and what that experience was like with your hormones going crazy, and picture doing that in your 40s. What's really wild about it is when people are teenagers, there's a little bit more grace given because they're, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. But when you're in your 40s and you're having that experience or older, people are like, you're an adult. You should be able to handle this. Like, why aren't you adulting right now? Why are you acting like a teenager? So, of course, that makes it even more frustrating, and which is also why I'm encouraging women in their 30s, if you do not possess skills around being connected to your body and navigating various emotional experiences or anxiety or depression or any of those types of things, like if you think about the week before your cycle or before your period starts, like that week in your cycle, if that's usually a hot mess for you, try to start learning strategies now, because it's not going to be pretty when you get to the point where you're actually in perimenopause and experiencing those things and feeling like a teenager again, but not really having like people give you the grace or compassion that you would have experienced possibly as a teenager. And then the even more fun part is, just like most women health issues, the doctors gaslight you like crazy. I'm fortunate. I have good doctors here that I've been able to meet with both in person and online. And there's a lot of online options now, like MIDI and Joy and Winona. Those are the 3 that I see advertised a lot. But there's, for a lot of people, they go in, especially if they're in their early 40s, and the doctor's like, no way. There's no way that you're in perimenopause. And any of the things that they talk about as bothering them, it's basically just like, either they're making it up, they're not really experiencing it, or there's no exploration done of how to do anything about it, or they're just given a lot of medication that isn't necessarily going to be helpful, and they're not given the supplements or medication that could be helpful. So there's nothing like having the experiences that I've described in perimenopause and then having them completely dismissed by your doctor. And then, of course, your loved ones might as well, like if you have unsupportive partners, spouses, family members, etc. So it's a really wild ride. And I'm over here as a white woman experiencing that. So I can only imagine what that's like for people from marginalized communities and communities with less access to healthcare as well. Hopefully in my next round of videos on perimenopause, I'll actually be talking about some solutions and I'll stop complaining about things. But I do think it's important for everyone to realize the reality that exists with perimenopause and really start raising awareness and disseminating information, so that if you're experiencing it or if you're around someone who's experiencing it, you can hopefully better support yourself or your friends and family. If you like this content, feel free to give me a follow.